Hello. Okay, story time. Story time with Sebastian, Baba, and Mama. Yikes. You right, Baba? Okay, we're revisiting the Golden Current again. It's all tickety-boo coming into place. And I'm going to use these readings to read through my work. So there might be, because this is the first draft, the 80th first draft. But I've decided I'm not editing anymore. I'm actually even going to pull in old work and even old short stories that don't belong to the story. I'm just getting it done. I have a real problem with like re-editing work, and then my style changes, and then I get new ideas, and I'm very myopic in trying to get them monotheistic from the start. But I've adapted. I've adopted the dynamic, multitudinous aspects of the old Greek gods, and this will be a multitudinous piece of work. It won't follow a monotheistic style, because it's written from all different parts of my life, and the character telling the story is my ego speaking or canonizing or mythicizing different parts of my life and experience, even though it's pretty far-fetched. So it's not far-fetched, it's abstracted, and it's a way of philosophizing through story. It's a way of making the truth of my life believable. And that it's in the first line, actually. Our world is paradoxical. So in order to tell the truth and have it be believed, I set it in a story. So we begin with Greygrass. So this is the Golden Current series, and we're beginning with Greygrass. It's the first chapter. So I'll begin. So some of this may be a bit sketchy because it's the first draft, but I'm going to listen back because I can't read aloud on Google Docs. I just had a horrendous time with this screen reader that read out everything that was on the screen to try and get it. I know there's the ways of... but anyway, Greygrass. So, I'm reading out first draft. I doubt I'll edit much when it comes to it now, because I've kind of gotten over that myopic tendency and just going with things as they are. Creation is just bringing alive what's there, and what's not there is nowhere. So, Greygrass. Greygrass is dying because people won't let it die. Our world is paradoxical. If they'd let it die properly, they would see how it lives on, twinkling contentedly behind all things. I was one of those people when I lived there, in Richard's house by the lake with the black swans, refusing to go mad. I am going to go back to help the place go belly up. Humans in Greygrass break what they try to fix, because they fix what needs to break, and that breaks what wants to happen, and that's not fixing something. It's the same with death. The people there try so hard to live that they kill the whom is meant to live there, death. Death wants to live in Greygrass, but instead life lives there. Some grey, festering, tedious half-life, half-death, two halves of a coin no one can spend. There's a place they talk about on Earth, a place called Purgatory. It's written about in a famous book. People aren't sure if it's real or not, but it is. It's here, in Greygrass. We don't have a name for our dimension as a whole, like Earth do, because we can't map it. It's always changing, places move around, but it is right where Earth is in every way that makes sense once you visited Karumi Field. That's where I am now, Karumi Field, named after another Earthling, Basho. This dimension was his last travel sketch, actually. I'm leaving here now. I'm going back to the beginning, to meet my end. I call Greygrass a city, for it has its central heart, pumping chaos and confusion around the body of Greygrass. until its distractions eventually pound out of brilliance into eerie suburbs, full of strangers in the mist with no beat to waste time to. I call Greygrass a city because of its walls, borders and churches, but how far across the plains of this world it stretches is not yet able to be defined or mapped. Perhaps collectively the minds in our dimension are more flexible than those on Earth, and likewise the matter of the dimension corresponds. If I thought of that sitting here in Kurumi Field, it's true. The things that come to you when you are sat in Kurumi Field are eternity confirming perfect things. But to get here, I had to first get out of Greygrass. There are trams which leave Greygrass and go out onto and over the water, carrying ghosts looking for their death. I caught one of those trams with my sister Rune. We went out onto and over the water and arrived in Romamore. Romamore is where I learnt to go mad. It is a good story and I'm going to tell you, because I have to tell you. That's why I reference Earth so much, because it's those of you on Earth who this story is written down for, because sooner or later you'll be called back to the golden current in your waking lives, and you may need some help getting there. My story is frightening at times and unconventional, but what looks neat and right on paper can be tucked away in the libraries of crumbling cities, because there are no rules to follow anymore, only the sacredness of all what's meant right there and then, and that sacredness has 1,000 glorious faces. They will not use written words and books here for much longer. The rind of the alphabet is falling away. Words and worlds lose their meaning and become dancers. Richard's house is in a row of terraced houses on a street facing the lake. There is a great kebab house nestled between a gathering of fir trees over the road from Richard's house. For there to be a gathering of fir trees on the corner of a street in an inner city area like Greygrass must be very uncommon, if not unique in this dimension and possibly any other. The kebab house was always special and is importantly special somehow now. As Greygrass deteriorates under the weight of all the pressure to rectify itself, with its parks of dead wheat and dust and ponds of charcoal toads that never grow taller than an inch, the kebab house manages to keep the firs green, or those firs manage to keep the food good. Newsflash, the chicken and the egg came at the same time. Those black swans are the gods of Greygrass. I understand why they are gods now, that I have met their god selves. But we all had a vague sense of it then. They live off Chinese food scraps and look very well for it. Can you believe that even in these starched, clueless times, some man or woman will come along with litter stuck to their shoes, wearing a face mask that was washed with water that passed through a lump of fat to protect themselves, hiding faces which look like sick plums? Can you believe that even in these starched, clueless times, this was written before COVID, PS, but can you believe that even in these starched, clueless times, some man or woman will come along with litter stuck to their shoes, wearing a face mask that was washed with water that passed through a lump of fat to protect themselves, hiding faces that look like sick plums, and say, it's not right to feed the swans human food. You should feed them seeds. I mean, even then I knew it. Hold up. Even then I knew it. Find me a seed. Okay, sorry. It's not right to feed the swans human food. You should feed them seeds. I mean, even then I knew it. Find me a seed, if you can, first of all, and then I will show the seed within the seed within the seed is spoiled. That's why I'm going back to the beginning. Then maybe I'll feed them a seed. But in the meantime, those kebabs are the first and last of this world. Those kebabs are the first and last wonder of this world. Me, Rune and Banu would sit there and watch them shuffle away pitifully, a crunchy wrapper dragging behind them. In our awareness of their loneliness, we felt enlightened beyond them, special. When anything like that happened, we would light up and prance around like the Northern Star, as if we three and the black swans were the only guiding lights left in this world. Back then, the fear and confusion we carried within us was dormant, waiting, And that sort of behaviour only compounded our self-delusions. The tower always waited. I can't believe I blame the cats. What has happened has always happened. It's all just a funny way we move through it. But for a while back then, our pygmy selves, adrift in the bleakness of grey grass, were able, unlike so many, to go back to Richard's house and play at being comforted in our attic room, which to us was a lighthouse, the only safe and warm place on a cursed coastline, facing always out to an onslaught of dark water, of discontent, winds. Facing always out onto an onslaught of dark water and discontent winds that may go on forever and ever. Perhaps from there the ships would come in. And by the way, every dimension has the same northern star. The stars are always the same. I'm glad I read this through, because the next bit I was going to write would not have matched up with any of that. Okay, that's grey grass. Okay, so we're on 11 minutes and let's call it a day.